right, something that's going to be important for us in this course, particularly when we're doing any kind of hand work with chisels, is going to be able to put a nice edge on that chisel. So probably the most basic thing you need to know about chisels is that there's only one angle, okay? The back is dead flat, and then there's an angle in the front there. So we're trying to make that as honed in, as sharp as we can. We are not going to get mere sharp on this. We'll get pretty good in some areas, but we're not going to get mere sharp, and that's going to be fine. That's fine for what we're doing here. I'm going to take some chisels here that are not in great condition, and I'm going to try to make them in very good condition. When I grind these chisels, case in point, I just ground, which one was it here? I just ground this chisel here, the back side of it. The only thing I'm going to the belt sander. I'm taking the top off, so I'm grinding it on a circular device, the top of the belt. So it's not a straight angle here on the back. It's actually a little bit of a radius. So when I go to sand this, or when I go to sharpen this, you'll see the front edge of the chisel and the back of the chisel shining first, because that's called hollow ground there. And that's a good thing. When you sharpen professionally, generally you have a slow moving stone with some lubricant on there, and you have a fixture jig that keeps at the exact angle that you want, keeps the top square and so forth. I'm not going to have you doing that with belts here, but when time comes for you to work with a chisel, first thing you should do is try to get into a pretty good sharpness. And I do this about the easiest, fastest way possible. I have two grits here, 320 and a 400, that I use to clean up the backside and the angle of the chisel. And I do this on a flat surface. So a flat surface a lot of times is like floating glass, a plate of glass. Glass is very flat. Sometimes I'll do this on a stone also that's round flat. We're going to be doing this on machine surfaces. Like today, I'll be doing this on the bed of the joiner here. I just want to make sure that the moisture that I use to clean my metal doesn't remain on the joiner when I'm done. So I will wipe that down and make sure I don't get rust accumulating on the joiner as a result of trying to sharpen these chisels. So I'm going to grab a chisel here. I'm going to grab the one I just did. I'm going to try to clean this up. So I'm going to start off with a 320. And I always put a little bit of water on here. If it comes out, I will. It's not coming out very easily. Well, so I'm just going to take this off and pour it out a little bit. So I'm on 320, and I'm just going to pour a small amount onto this piece of sandpaper. Not a ton, just enough that it's going to move the metal around underneath that I'm doing on here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the back. And I want a nice flat plane the whole way, but I'm only going to do about a half of that back flat surface there. So I'm moving it around in a circular motion. You can see that the water that I'm getting there is starting to get filled up with some metal. You can see it kind of like turning into waves and thickening those waves. So I'm getting the back nice and flat. And I want to do that until I feel a little bit of a burr on the front there. And I do feel one already. So I'm going to set this down. I want to get a paper towel to wipe that back side. Okay, so we can see that the back side of this is getting shinier than it was originally. I'm doing the same thing now with 400 grit. They call this Rhino Wet Plus. When you have the 400 grit, there would be absolutely no reason to be working with wood with 400 grit. So it's strictly like a metal grit here. So I'm going to pour a little water on there. And repeat the same process. And And it is flat. I'm putting pressure with this index finger down flat to wipe that around. I'll wipe that and see what that looks like. Good. Now I'm going to go back to that original one that I had. And now this is going to be a little bit more difficult because I have to stay flat with this. So I have to keep my sandpaper out taut, but I'm trying to keep the whole surface of that down. Admittedly, this is an easier process if we have this secured down here, but since I'm using sandpaper, I move through it kind of quickly, so it's not worth securing it down. So I'm trying to keep it as flat as I can and move that back and forth. I'm also not moving my arm at the shoulder. I'm doing this using my body, so my legs are doing this. The more you can get larger muscles like your legs over your bodies into the motion here, the more consistent the motion is going to be. Okay, I feel the burr on the back there. I'll move to that 400 again. I'll knock that back down. Now to the front with that 400. So at this stage, I have a really nice sharp edge on this. I'll dry this off with joiner table. I'll just show you with a piece of wood what that kind of surface looks like. It needs the wood here. So you want it to bite into the wood immediately to shave that off. Okay? So right here I have a good sharp chisel that I can work with. It didn't take me much to do that. That was all about 5 minutes to get this thing sharpened how I want it. This is going to be used for when we cut out our corners for our stopped potatoes for projects. This is going to be for cutting dovetail joints. This is going to be for any time we need a nice chisel that has a good edge on it. And the sandpaper is the easiest way to do that. Sure, you can invest $1,000 into a sharpening system that takes a longer time. Certainly, you get better results. I'm not going to knock that. But for our purposes in here, we just want to spend 5 minutes before we start the project to get this tool exactly how we want it to work.